Hello, folks. Welcome to the Tech Geek Podcast. I'm your host, Sukriti Adavanshi. And guys, today I'm here with a very interesting conversation, which is all about you, the developers. Let me decode this a little for all of you. So, innovation comes from people meeting up in the hallways or calling each other at 10:30 at night with a new idea, or because they realize something that should holes in how we've been thinking about a problem. And this is a famous quote by Steve Jobs. So as developers, modern day growth calls for constant innovation, upskilling, and reskilling, rethinking, reimagining, and disrupting your own business to keep pace with the level of change driven by technology and customer expectations have become the rules of survival. But what kind of skills one should look at? What are the game changers in the tech market, and what are the elements that are gaining popularity? When it comes to addressing the elements of having a better future in the tech market. So, to address these essentials, our guest will today, will elaborate on these elements on how developers are the microsomes of India's innovation engine. Guys, I'm delighted to have Suman Reddy, who's the managing director and country head of Pegasystems India. A recognized technology leader for more than 2 decades and a core member of Pega's global leadership team, Suman has redefined how Indian businesses leaders are establishing innovation centers critical to the future of global technology organizations. He is also very actively involved in mentoring startups and future leaders in India while building a robust pipeline of talent through academic programs and industry partnerships. Welcome to the show, Suman. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Sukriti. Thank you for inviting and thank you for the warm welcome. My best wishes and greetings to all of your listeners, viewers, and whatever format they are attending the call today.
Thanks, Suman.
Great to be here.
Thanks, Suman. And I'm looking forward to some of the biggest advices and elements that you'd be helping us with and our developer community today. So let's get started. So my first question for you today is, what are the new age skill sets required for the software developers?
That's a great question, Sukriti. It's interesting that I get to answer this question every year, I think, for the last 15 years. Broadly, the answer has not changed, as strange as it might sound to you. Developer skills are very broad in my mind, right? I think I've, coming from a computer science background myself, started my journey as a Java developer, 23 years back in 2000. You can do the math, I think in 98 to be precise, so 23 years ago. I have said, I believe that a lot of has stayed the same, right? If you want to become a good developer out of the bat as you graduate, I think having great mathematical aptitude, problem solving skills, if you have those, you can pick up any languages, right? Whether it could be Java, JavaScript, Python, all of these are still the hot skills that we use as companies who are building enterprise class software, right? Now, in addition to knowing some of these fundamental skills to become a great developer, people tend to sort of get into niche areas. Things like maybe perhaps the latest trends that we all talk about is AI, right? I mean, AI has many aspects of it as well, right? I think you still need to know a programming language to actually be good at AI. I mean, that could be a Python, that could be Java, or some of the most necessary ones. But you need to hone in your skills in things like linear algebra, statistics, perhaps neural network architectures, and some of these areas are also equally important if you really want to develop your core skills in artificial intelligence and some of the new topics that we keep hearing these days, like a robotic process automation. What we call our flagship one is called intelligent process automation, or rather low code, no code platforms. You need to have those fundamental skills to actually become good in any of these areas. Now, if you're actually talking about an application developer, a developer who is responsible for building business applications used by any of the more largest and sophisticated companies of the world, or even some of the largest companies that we interact with in our own country, whether it could be the banks, the cell phone companies, and so on and so forth. I think, now in today's, environment, successful developers have to, of course, learn some platforms and technologies. And I put our own platform out there because we are known as one of the best softwares in the world for the last 15 consecutive years, Pegasystems, to understand how to actually build digital automation applications combined with low-code, no-code frameworks, which brings in a lot of components of AI, machine learning, data analytics, et cetera, et cetera. I think some of those skills can be honed in if you can learn the platform once you have the basic fundamentals. So just to summarize in terms of what I sort of went through is, in order for you to be a great developer, do not get confused and think that I need to learn a specific area of a machine learning, or I really need to become a data scientist, or I need to sort of go in and look at the open source, low code, no code softwares. Yes, they come in later, depends on the project. If you're good with your fundamentals, learning some of these skills is second nature now, right? If you can easily get through any of these new technologies that come to place, or even platforms that are actually delivered out there, your core skills that you need to hone on continue to be your mathematical skills, your in terms of your coding skills, especially people who are graduating new. I think they have to learn some sort of a coding skills to actually get started in their career.
Thank you for that, Suman. And any conversation that I have with any of the tech leaders specifically, upskilling and reskilling are two elements that have been very, very importantly emphasized and advised to all the developers and IT professionals these days. So thank you for sharing those elements with us. Moving on to the next one, what do you think are the key aspects of being a successful developer in today's world? Because it has become more dynamic these days to have not just one skill owned, but somebody has to have more than maybe five competencies to be better off, right? So what do you think are the key aspects?
I think, I've learned this in my own life. I think I've been always taught that, you need to constantly upskill yourself if you need to be relevant in tech industry. Is the answer true? Yes, to an extent. I think, yes, because technology changes so fast. In order for you to actually be relevant for skills that are changing, constantly emerging, you need to constantly upskill yourself. But the big part that I think nobody is talking about, that I think, something that we've been telling a lot of our ecosystem, is that today's developer needs to be good in understanding business problems, right? It's the business skills that they need to evolve. In today's agile, fast, low-code ways of developing applications, it is very important for business and IT to sit together to develop these applications. The big divide that existed in my days of doing traditional waterfall methodology was that it took us about 10 minutes to develop these applications that the business wanted. At the end of the day, when you deliver it, they're not relevant anymore because the technology has changed, the market dynamics have changed. So you go back to the development mode again, and you churn another 6 months before you get an application that the business could maybe accept. But in today's world, the business and IT sit together and they go through this agile method of developing a software where you're actually delivering incremental capabilities every 15 days, right? You have a software every 15 days that gets delivered. I mean, as an example, something that we've digitally transformed is Vodafone, one of the largest cell phone companies in the world. Traditionally, they've been part of this whole journey where they've had 3 or 4 software releases in a year to support all of their global customers through their customer service channel. If any customer called them for any challenges to do with broadband or data plan or cell phone, they had this whole software that would help them, their own customer reps, to help their end customers. And this software would come every 2 or 3 months, 3 times a year. However, they felt like in this fast-paced world today, where every customer expects out-of-the-world experiences when they interact in various channels, whether it's through mobile or online or social and things like that, if you do not provide those capabilities that they're used to in a day-to-day basis, then you would lose the customers. You'll have a customer churn. So we've actually helped Vodafone now adopt the low-code platform where they're churning out application updates every 15 days to keep their customers happy, right? So I'd say, I think, the big thing about, yes, upskilling is important, learning new skills are important, but if your fundamentals are good, you can self-learn that. There is enough information available on the web. My recommendation would be to really think about understanding the business, right? I think, as a software person, if you understand the business better, you turn out to be a better developer.
All right. So, Suman, since you spoke about the low code, do you think that low code solutions have been a game changer in the software industry? If yes, why is that?
In reality of low code is that this is not a new software out there. Yes, I think we just about, I think this, in the last couple of years, we've heard this a lot about having this ability to graphically drag and drop user interfaces or pre-build some functions for a quick development of the applications. You can attach them with some workflows, integrate with them backend systems, all that can be done in a graphical user interface with relatively low level of development skills is really what the sell of this area is. But reality is people have been doing automation applications like Pega. We have been doing this for the last 15 years now, right? The ability to build these workflows, the ability to connect with any backend systems, the ability to build any graphical user interfaces was always on the platform. We never had to touch a single piece of code, right? Because the system actually delivers the code. So to answer your question, yes, I think it is a game changer. But the game change has started a while ago. And I think a lot of players in the industry have now suddenly have woken up and they all want to sort of jump on this bandwagon. And I think with the amount of change that's happening in the digital automation space, I think this is absolutely a need right now. So I think it'll be a game changer.
Interesting. So, what is
Just
your
to give you,
view?
just to add on, I'll give you a
Yes.
couple of examples as well, if it's of any interest in terms of some of the work that we've done with our customers on the low code side. A couple of them that come to our mind, which might be of interest to some of your listeners as well. During this whole COVID time, we work along with the Bavarian Ministry of Economic Affairs to help develop a highly configurable low code capability system on our platform to provide this emergency COVID-19 financial aid. I mean, that was put together because it happened in the pandemic time. They wanted to develop this application in 2 weeks or 3 weeks' time. I think it was 21 days, which essentially rolled out all of this financial aid to self-employed workers, farmers, and small to mid-sized companies. And we were able to build this in about 3 weeks with the help of their business users who were able to configure the system. The other one was the UK Royal Navy, again, Royal Air Force and Navy, wanted to again quickly put together a low-code platform for their recruitment, candidate recruitment into the Air Force, right? And that way we're able to put together in a record time. So these are some of the applications that I can give you as an example that are taking place since the COVID, right? Which is allowing for businesses to quickly pull the applications together in no time and go live and support their customer base.
That's a very quick turnaround, I must say, Suman. Moving on to the next one. What is your view on the rise and popularity of India's low code and no code developer community? What do you think? The thing people can actually look at, especially the IT professionals.
I mean, as I mentioned to you, I think there are only about 3 or 4 platforms who are now supporting low code kind of development. If you're specifically asking me the question about low code, we are one of the leaders in there. There are a couple of other companies who also sort of feature in the top platforms for low code. As we've just established, I think if you are working in Indian IT services, if you're helping some of the Indian companies to digitally transform their own organizations, to quickly roll out applications like what I just described, what Bavarian Ministry did, I think it's a good time to get into it. It's the right time to sort of upskill yourself. What we discussed earlier. There are tools and technologies available there. If you have great fundamentals, it's not hard for you to learn. I think also I recommend is that this rise will be there. I mean, this is now going to be mainstream. This is how things will be developed in future. Nobody will be writing code. I mean, it's just a waste of time to be just sitting there and writing code unless you're actually building the software that builds the applications, right? The coding exists still if you're actually building the software. But if you're actually building applications that typically companies use, then you're actually should not be writing any code. You should be finding platforms that will actually generate the code for you. So your profile is typically changed now. You can't just be thinking that I'll be a Java developer for the rest of my life. You should be thinking about how do I build business applications if you're on that side of the house. And if you're on the business side of the house, if you have to develop applications for some of the top 10 banks of India, the top 10 insurance companies of India, the government of India. You shouldn't be writing code. You should be learning these low-code platforms that will help you build applications at great speed and absolute lower cost. But more importantly, to be able to build once and be able to change. That's the huge advantage of low-code software, is that change is the only constant thing in life, as we all know. And especially in the IT industry, change, as we discussed, is extremely rapid. So therefore, I think you have to build a system that is very easy to change and that's very easy to maintain. And that's the success mantra of the low-code community.
Wonderful. This is the last one, Suman. What advice would you give to software developers stepping into the low-code development?
As I said, I think we already discussed this a little bit in terms of if they want to take up the low-code development. I think main differentiator for them is more than learning the technical skills, which I think for any software developer would come easy. I mean, the whole low-code environment is meant to simplify things. So if you are an engineer already, if you are a software developer who are familiar with software programming languages, and if you want to learn low-code development, it'll come in fairly easily. Within a couple of weeks, you can actually learn the platform and become good at it, right? Because it's all visual, graphical interfaces that allow you to actually connect with backend systems, help you create user interfaces which are interactive, then drop in the workflows to get the work done. All of that now can be developed, in a visual manner. I think where we see people failing, even with low code, is when they don't clearly understand the needs of the business. And people who understand the businesses really stand out. I mean, their productivity is extremely high. They make customers happy. The customers are successful. And I mean, that's really what I think one should be thinking about from a development perspective.
Thank you so much, Suman. This conversation definitely is going to help us, our developers understand the basics as well as the current market trends full-fledgedly. So thank you so much for your valuable insights.
My pleasure. And I think, again, thank you for having me on the call.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for listening to us. Do stay tuned to TechGig for more such podcasts. Thank you so much.